Explaining seasons on a flat earth, and this is my opinion based on if the earth was actually flat and stationary, which means non-rotating. Okay, I'll explain it because science tells us right now that the earth is moving 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. It's going 66,700 miles an hour around the sun as it's spinning, and it's chasing the sun through the galaxy 500,000 plus miles an hour, just never ending, just going forever and ever and ever, never returning to the same spot ever again, just forever going. Now, this is what science and NASA tells us. Now, a couple things strike me as odd. One, how did they get that information? How do you know that that's how fast it's spinning if you can't even prove it's spinning? The Foucault's pendulum in a museum is one of your only proofs it's spinning. Then how the heck did you get all of those numbers? I mean, to me, it seems like they just pulled them out of their you know what. But I mean, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Now, how does the sun actually work? What's going on a flat earth? This can all be proved, again, in my opinion, based on a sundial. Okay? Sorry, I blanked for a second. So this can all be proven based on a sundial. Why? Because if you make a sundial and you watch the shadow, if the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, like modern science tells us, the heliocentric model, okay, what happens is the shadow on a sundial would never rotate around. It wouldn't work. Okay, the only way to get a sundial to actually work properly, and you can test this, is the source of light has to be rotating around whatever it's lighting in a circle, which made me start to really think, because when I learned that, when I was making my own sundials, and I've made them in my yard, I've made them and done this test a million times, and I've made videos of how the shadow also moves. And it wouldn't work if the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. It's insane. It just wouldn't work. In order for a sundial to work, the light source has to be circling around the object. And that made me really think, because I remember reading in the Bible, it says that the earth is a circle, okay? A circle. And when you look up what a circle is a two-dimensional object. Two-dimensional objects are flat. Okay, now when you actually begin to test this stuff and learn about the sky, okay, because that's one of the first things after I started putting that together I wanted to learn about, because how does it work then? What is happening? Why is it cold in the northern hemisphere in the winter and warm in the southern hemisphere and vice versa? Like, what the heck is going on? But when you learn, it's so explainable and simple. So what's happening is the summer solstice. I know everybody has heard of the summer solstice. Now, the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere is approximately right around June 20th, okay? Now, on June 20th, what the summer solstice is, what's happening is that the sun is as close to the northern hemisphere as it's going to get, okay? As soon as it hits that day, at that point, the sun starts, as it's circling around the earth, okay, it starts to make wider circles and go back out to the southern hemisphere. You know how they say, like, the birds, they fly south for the winter. Everything goes south for the winter, okay? This is in stories. This has been in stories, especially for thousands of years, just passed down and passed down, that things go south for the winter, okay? And I believe that this is because the sun actually goes south for the winter in the northern hemisphere, and that's what's happening. So normally the sun will be circling around the earth like this, right? Now on the summer solstice, it's getting closer to the northern hemisphere. And as, like I said, after the summer solstice, after June 20th, June 21st, what the sun is going to do is start making wider paths outward towards the southern hemisphere, which is why now the nights, it becomes night longer in the northern hemisphere, because the sun is moving further away. It's going back to south. So you're going to have longer nights. It's going to begin to get cold. And that's because, again, the sun is moving now. It's going south for the winter. Now, after it does this, it's going to come to a day. It's going to come to December 22nd. Now, this is the start of the winter solstice. And I know a lot of people have heard of the winter solstice. They know that Christians celebrate Christmas, and so many different cultures do different things around this time. Now, there is a astronomical reason why, okay? And it again has to do with the sun. The sun has been a major influence of everything in this world, okay? Including the stories, the religion, all of it. So what's happening now is on December 22nd, now that the sun has been traveling south, it is now hot. It is now summer in the southern hemisphere and bitter cold in the northern hemisphere. That again is because the sun is far away. So what happens on December 22nd is the sun, it actually sets in this one position. Now on December 23rd, it sets in the same position instead of coming back, because normally every day it goes 1 degree further, and then after the winter, it goes 1 degree closer. 1 degree. This is what modern science tells us too. So as the sun is moving this 1 degree until December 22nd, all of a sudden on December 22nd, it stops. And then on December 23rd, it sets in that same position. It doesn't come back to the northern hemisphere yet. It's just sitting there in like a dead flux, like not knowing what to do almost. Now on December 24th, same thing. The sun sets in that same position. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't head back to the north. Now, the reasons why Christians, in my opinion, celebrate the birth of Jesus, the Son of God, is because Jesus, of course, is a metaphor for the sun in the sky. And this is because every religion of ever, they all have sun gods. They're all worshiping the sun in the sky. The old, everything. I mean, all the old Romans religions were worshiping the sun. Sol Invictus, it was the sun is victorious, because the sun always comes back. It always comes back to us. Now, it does die, and that's what these days are. On December 22nd, when the sun stops moving, the ancient people believed because the sun was the Son of God, because God made the sun, and the sun stopped moving on December 22nd, and it sets in that same location as it's circling out for 3 days in a row. Now, on December 25th, the winter solstice, the sun begins to move, and it comes back to life, and it begins to move back to the northern hemisphere, which is why you're still going to have bitter cold winter, because this is December 25th. Into January, it's going to be cold, even into February, because it gets cold we have cold days in October. We have cold days in November, okay? So you got to remember, the sun is still far away from the northern hemisphere, but it begins to circle back and make those smaller loops again and come back to the northern hemisphere, which is why our days begin to get longer again, and the night begins to shorten out, and the sun begins to come back. And then once we hit that springtime, baby, the equinox, the spring equinox, okay, this is when life comes back to earth. And this is what Easter is. Easter is a season. Easter is the season of the spring, okay? It's spring, when things spring back to life, okay? Everything comes back to life. So that is how the sun works on a flat earth model. It doesn't actually take a genius to figure out, and it makes way more sense than the nonsense that science gives us. If you go on the websites and read this nonsense for the way that the earth is wobbling and tilting and all those doing this and that and spinning and spiraling, listen, if it's endlessly spiraling through the galaxy, never to return to the same spot, then I got to tell you, it's impressive, because we have been looking at the same stars for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. The ancient people used to look at the same exact constellations that we look at, and they used to be able to find their way on the open seas, which brings me into, if they traveled thousands of years ago on the ocean seas, how they never managed to find America until the 1400s. I think that's a bit silly. However, that being said, that is how the earth and the sun work on a flat earth model. My name is With the Sun 33. I am the most banned person on the internet that I know of, honestly. I know one or two other people that are pretty banned too, but I gotta say, I am the most banned. I am not allowed to go live on any platform. I've been kicked off of TikTok so many times, it's hard to count. I have probably 40 Gmail accounts because of that. And I've lost over 1 million followers easily. Instagram can't go live on. YouTube, super censored. You can't go live on. I can't go live on anything. So this is the world that we live in. If you are intelligent and you read a lot and you try and repeat what you have read and teach people these things that are they're an opinion, but of course it's an opinion based on a lot of education and a lot of trial, a lot of, you know, I've gone out and done these tests. I've made the sundials. I bought the cameras and done long distance photography. All right. There are world record photos. You can just Google them that are hundreds and hundreds of miles. There's supposed to be so much curvature there and there isn't. So it's silly. Long distance photography in itself debunks the whole curvature thing. But if you're interested in learning any of this, go on my website, withthesun33.com. You don't have to if you want to. And also, the book I'm writing right now is called Deception in the Modern Age. And it's about 200 pages, all color pictures. And there are over 150 proofs that the earth is absolutely not a spinning ball. And they're all in that book. And of course, it's my opinion, but I provide pictures, long distance photography pictures, so much evidence, it's unbelievable. Railguns, lighthouses, stories about every single thing. And how we've come this far. Like, how did we get here? It all starts with the Knights Templars, okay? It goes back way beyond that because the Knights Templars invented modern day banking. But banking was invented by the Babylonians, for Christ's sake. So, I talk all about that. I teach how this all came to be, what money is. A lot of people do not realize that money is not tied to gold or silver. It has no ties to anything. It is 100% debt-based. America makes its money selling debt-based bonds, and the collateral on the bond is me and you. It's us, American tax-paying people. So when you begin to learn what's going on, you begin to see that it's all about marketing and advertising and throwing stuff in your face. That's what this is all about. Everything is a story. Okay, everything. It goes back to storytelling. And where did these stories come from? The sky. All about the sky. Okay, I could talk for hours about this, and I do. Jesus Christ is a archetype. There were many Christs before Christ with the same name, same story, everything. The word Christ in Greek goes back to Christos, Christ. Your pineal gland produces in oil. The word oil is Christ. The oil drips down your 33 vertebrae, the 33 years of Christ. Okay? It hits your heel. Because if you're living out of that, if you can't get that oil, that Christ oil, to turn into a gas and come back up, that means you're living out of your root chakra or your heel, and you're living in hell. Okay, if you can get the gas to come up and activate your pineal gland, why do you think the Vatican has so much pine cone symbolism? Buddha has a pine cone on his head. It's pineal symbolism. You got to learn this stuff. This is, in my opinion, massively important to growing up in this world, becoming enlightened, becoming somewhat of an intellect, okay? It's important, it is, because if you believe still in certain things, you're believing in fantasy. You're living in a fantasy-based reality that is not real. So I highly recommend you learn things, start to read. Someone said to me, because I always take pictures of my bookshelf so people can get reading, ideas, because I have so many books. I have the best, esoteric collection I've ever seen in a house. It's so amazing. And I've got all the books for cheap. I find them, Salvation Army and all sorts of places. But anyway, I had a guy say, oh, you probably read all those books and there's a lot of lies in those and you believe those too. Buddy, there's lies in everything. The world we live in is filled with lies. Even it says it in the Bible that God says that he conceals a thing. and it is the glory for kings to seek it out. That's what it says. So of course everything is junk. There's rubbish on top of rubbish. You have to learn, which is why you read, because the more you read, the more things you know. And then you have a larger pool of information to pick from. It's that simple, okay? If you only have it's like a bank. If the bank is full, there's plenty of money in the bank. You can go in the bank and take out any money that you like, because you've put lots of money in it. But if there's no money in the bank, if you have no information in your head, what are you picking from when you're trying to make a choice? When you're giving someone your opinion, what information are you pulling that from? Because when you have no information, when all your information is just the mainstream information that's been given to me too, I went out of my way to learn far beyond what the mainstream taught me. Because I want a bigger pool of information to pull from when I have to make an opinion based on a thought. You get it? So yeah, I understand that, buddy. Lots of lies. Does that mean you don't read? Would you only read the Bible then? You think that's a history book? It's not. It's a story. It's a story, and most likely you're probably not reading it right, so you don't even understand what the story's trying to teach you in the first place. So congratulations. Sad. It's just sad. But again, if you want to learn, if you're open-minded and willing to look at other people's work, and believe me, like all of my work, you know, I've gotten so much information from people like Jordan Maxwell, Manly P. Hall, and so many just other brilliant people. And you know, Jordan's no longer with us, Manly's no longer with us, but these are brilliant men. And I'm trying to take what they worked on their whole life and learn it so that I can reteach it. Because if we don't learn this stuff, it's going to get lost. Because that's the way the world is. They delete you, they remove you if they don't like what you're saying. So I feel like this is crucially important to hear, whether it's an opinion or not. And if you can't agree with that, there's something psychologically wrong with you. That's how brainwashed you are. Again, this is all my opinion. I love you all with thesun33.com.